Today's video is gonna be a little bit longer than normal. So if you would, I would so much appreciate it if you just sit back, maybe grab a pipe, a cigar, and enjoy. Watch the whole thing through because YouTube likes that. YouTube will help promote this video if you watch it all the way through, so. It's gonna be a good one though. I'm spending a bit more time on it. I think this is something important, and for sure something important to me, something I've been working hard at, and is a big motivator. Nope. It's a big part of the reason I have become a trans male, and I hope you have too. Transitioning into the person I want to become, that your wife is proud of, and that you want to see your boys emulate. Today we're comparing boys from the 1950s to boys today, looking at what life was like then versus now, what's changed, and what it's led to today. To begin, let's paint a scenario of a boy and look at how the situation might have been perceived in the 1950s versus today. By the way, this little section's taken from Jamie Frater. It's pretty good stuff. Jack goes quail hunting before school. He then pulls into the school parking lot with the shotgun in the gun rack of his pickup truck. In 1957, this scenario probably would have been looked upon like this. The vice principal comes over, looks at Jack's shotgun, then goes to his own car to get his shotgun to show Jack. Today the school will go into lockdown. Jack would be hauled off into jail to never see his truck or his gun again. Counselors would be called in for traumatized students and teachers. Jack had a shotgun in the back of his truck. I'm not trying to make light of school shootings by any means, but just painting a scenario and how it would have been seen then versus now. While doing research for this video, I came across an article by David French in the National Review that I loved. So I'm quoting a lot of David French here. Let's begin. If you're the average millennial male, your dad is very likely stronger than you are. In fact, you may not be stronger than the average millennial female. You're exactly the kind of person who in generations past had your milk money confiscated every day. The very idea of manual labor is alien to you. And even if you were asked to help, say build a back porch, the task would exhaust you to the point of uselessness. Welcome to the new post-masculinity reality that we live in. It's a good time. Welcome. A Washington Post article came out recently about the grip strength of men. It's kind of interesting. It showed that the grip strength of a sample of college men had declined significantly between 1985 and 2016, from 117 pounds to 98 pounds today. And that was just from the 80s. That was from 1985. That was like me. It wasn't that long ago. I'm not that old. Take it easy. It declined so much that it now matched that of older millennial women. In other words, the average college male had no more hand strength than a 30-year-old mom. These findings are consistent with other studies showing kids are less fit today. For example, it takes children 90 seconds longer to run a mile than it did 30 years ago. Simply put, boys are getting soft. Hey, want to do another scenario? They're kind of fun. Let's do another one.
Well, look who's here. Dopey Opie in person. You gonna make something out of it?
Johnny and Mark get into a fist fight after school. In 1957, a crowd would gather. Mark wins. Johnny and Mark shake hands and end up buddies. Today, the police would be called in. SWAT teams arrive. They arrest Johnny and Mark and charge them both with assault. You still with me? You doing okay? We're just getting into the good stuff now. We're getting into the gold. Being born in 1982, I don't remember much of the 40s and 50s. My memory's a little vague back then, but I can kind of come up with some ideas about what kids were like then versus today. Better yet, we can hear from somebody who actually was a kid in the 1950s. Here's what he had to say.
No, those were nice days, the 50s. We are molding our boys the way we feel they should be molded. With 4 boys, and they used to facetiously call me Sergeant Bilko because I just felt very strongly about giving them an inch and they'll take a mile. And they'd say, well, Dad, Johnny's father doesn't make them do this, or Johnny's mother this, and so. I don't care. I'm not trying to win a popularity contest. We're trying to bring you boys up so that you'll be happy and well-adjusted and good citizens. Kids, when they start to rebel, I think they're really hollering, I need some help, I need some guidance, I need some direction. I frankly blamed the parents for much of their shortcomings, and the kids' shortcomings. And the 60s were a tragic time. This is going back to the 50s, you know, where these many of the liberals, is the word that described this type of parent escapes me. They would just let them do anything they wanted, and you just can't do that. I think psychologically this is what made this whole thing work, because they didn't have a clan with a lot of other people that were more responsible, that whose parents really looked after their kids to make sure that this wouldn't happen to your own kids. And I think you run into it today, with long hair and earrings and this and that and the other. There's something psychological about this, to give them a bond with other people. There are things to be said about conformity if they're good, if they're right. But who's to say if they're good and if they're right? And that's the hot button.
So I'm going to read an article that was written by John Rosemond in the Hartford Courant. I don't know anything about John or the Hartford Courant, but his article was brilliant. You weren't the center of the world. Kids today are entitled. It's not their fault. It's their parents' fault. It's my fault. Kids believe the world should bend to their will. And if it doesn't, it's not fair. And the American culture in general agrees with them. You should get a reward for coming in last place. You are a winner, Johnny. You're the best person out here. Your parents acted like they were bigger than you, like they knew what they were doing and didn't need your help to make decisions. In fact, your opinion didn't really matter much. When they spoke to you, they didn't bend down and grab their knees and ask for your cooperation in a wielding tone. They spoke in no uncertain terms. And they thought you were smart, so they only said anything once. The rule was very simple. They told you what to do, and you did it, because they said so. Your mom and dad paid more attention to one another than they paid to you. You didn't really think about that at all. It was just the way it was. But looking back, you're sure glad you weren't the center of the family universe. You were a satellite orbiting around their solid presence. They bought you very little, so you appreciated everything you had. And you took care of it. When your bike broke, you figured out how to fix it, or your dad fixed it. In either case, you understood you weren't getting a new one. You loved your mom and dad, but you left home as early as possible because you were absolutely certain you could make a better life for yourself than they were willing to make for you. And you were right. I would say the thing I've noticed in kids today, including my own, it's my fault, take full responsibility for that, is that the life we've been able to give them, and I'm not saying we're rich or have given them any kind of abnormally lush and lavish life. In fact, in many ways, it's a much more subdued life than a lot of their friends. But in any case, kids have no reason to go pursue something better for themselves because what they have at home, what they've been given for free, is about as good as it gets. They have everything, and they didn't have to do a thing for it. They didn't have to earn it. They didn't have to work for it. They, in their own minds, deserve everything they have and more. So then when kids go off to college or get their own place, they assume the world's going to be the same way. The world should give them all the things that their parents gave them that they didn't have to work for. Why should they have to get a job? Things should just be given to them in plenty. Going back to the fellow who was raised in the 1950s, he said, "Today's parents still pay the bills, buy the clothes, prepare the food, and so on. But by some strange twist, they treat their children as if they are the most important people in the family."
I have to yell at you guys.
Linda, listen, Linda.
Parents don't act bigger anymore either. When they talk to their children, they get down to their level, like they're petitioning the king.
Are you ready for a nap?
Parents ask children to do things, and children take the request under consideration. This section in particular is something that I resonate with. I was extremely weak and soft and kind of cowardly with my kids when they were young. I didn't want to be the one who got them into trouble. I wanted them to like me. I wanted to be their friend. I wanted to be a buddy. And I would talk to them like we're friends, not like a father talking or disciplining his children. It's one of those things that, I don't regret, but I do look at like, man, if I could go back and tell my early 20-year-old something about raising my kids, I'd have a lot to say. It's not to say that kids turned out bad, though. That's the thing. My kids are amazing. Like, seriously, they're so much better than your kids. I don't know anything about your kids, but mine are way better. We did some things right. I'm not saying we did everything wrong. I'm just saying there were a few areas, and this one in particular, where I was like, dang, I could have done things a little bit differently. We have had seen some of the repercussions of that. Luckily, we were able to anyways, we're doing just fine, and our kids are amazing, but this one really hit home for me. Let's keep going. But first, want another scenario? Scenarios are fun. They break this whole video up. Are they entertaining? Jeffrey won't be still in class. He's disrupting other students. In 1957, Jeffrey would have been sent to the office and given a good paddling by the principal. He'd return to class, sit still, and wouldn't interrupt again. Today, Jeffrey would be given huge doses of Ritalin, or whatever the common calm-you-down drug is. He'd become a zombie, tested for ADD, and the school would get extra money from the state because Jeffrey has a disability. It's not his fault. Back to John Rosemond, the fellow who was raised in the 1950s and wrote this brilliant article. He said the 1950s was a better time for kids. According to mental health statistics, we were happier than kids today, by far. In that regard, The latest research finds that obedient children are much happier than disobedient children. The latest research also finds that kids from homes where their parents' marriages are strong do better in school, regardless of their IQ. Now, I realize this is a touchy subject. It's one that you may not be able to control. You may be a single parent. It's not your fault. I mean, it could be your fault, but it may not be your fault. There's situations and circumstances that happen in life that just screw things up. But it doesn't change the fact that if you do have control over a situation with yourself and your spouse, and you're not doing everything you can to keep that marriage intact for your kids, then you do what you do. Let's continue. Most boys today spend all day pursuing pleasure, but then again, their parents likely do the same. Phones, binge watching whatever's new, and filling every second of every day with just something, stuff, busyness. Seems like a lot of people today are just trying to avoid reality at all costs. And you see that in the kids too. Kids' minds are filled with dopamine. Dopamine hits constantly through their phones and social media and games. It's a constant high. I'm gonna be doing a video about dopamine detox, something I'm trying to go through myself in the future. But today, boys are also praised when they take on the strengths and stereotypical traits and roles of women. It's an interesting thing. The more that a girl or a woman acts like a traditional male, they can go as masculine as they want. You can play in the dirt, you can wear pants, you can go fix that truck, you can change the tire, you can protect yourself. You don't need a man. You're a strong woman. But for boys, it's the opposite. Of course you can wear a skirt, a dress. You want to wear makeup? That's perfectly fine. In fact, that's something we'd like you to do.
These polyamorous parents let their children choose their gender.
Blue and red and yellow.
I want to be me.
Which one will it be?
What about black and white?
You're going to be a girl, Johnny. And Sister Sue, you're going to be a man. It's interesting that the traditional role of a male, the stereotypical things a guy is into and will do, are absolutely disgusting to a lot of people if you're a man going after those things. If you're a boy who's into tractors and trucks, it's just like, ew, get rid of that. But if you're a girl who's interested in those things, well, absolutely. That's what you should be interested in. As long as your boy is trying to be a girl and your girl's trying to be a boy, the mainstream go with the flow world is happy with that, because apparently that's what we're supposed to do, is switch our true identities. Boys get caught up in that. Anyways, that's not the point of this video. I've got a lot more points to make. Good ones. You still okay? You need a drink? You need more bourbon? More whiskey? Another cigar? Need some counseling? What do you need? Let's keep going. I'm actually, luckily for you, coming to a close with this video. I have one more kind of point. I'd like to lay out a little bit of what a man should be. This is actually taken from an article that Matt Walsh wrote, a letter to his son. It had some good points in it that I think wrap up what a man is supposed to be, in my opinion, versus what man is. I don't know. I don't even know what culture wants a man to be today. This is what Matt Walsh said. Men are loyal. Men are honest. Men respect and honor women. A man goes out and finds one woman, and he vows to protect and love her for the rest of his life. A man would never betray that vow. Even the weakest and most cowardly man, if he's a man at all, would die for the woman he loves. A man is defined by how he treats women, by how he keeps his promises, and by how he protects and serves the ones he loves. That's what makes a man. Men need to raise their boys to be men. It's time to stand up, to make yourself better, to make yourself into the man you want your son to become, and then lead him. Me, and this is just for me, in my opinion, men need to stand up. Men need to raise their boys to become men. But in order to do that, most men, myself included, need to change a lot about themselves. You should be the man you want your daughter to marry and the man you want your boy to turn into when he grows up. You should treat your wife the way that you want your daughter's husband to treat your daughter, and the way that you want your boys to treat their future wives. Men in general need to step it up, because it's been far too long where men have just sat there and have allowed themselves and allowed their boys to become weak, soft, and just another part of this messed up culture that's trying to break down what it means to be a man. Our culture strips its young men of their created purpose and then wonders why they struggle. It wonders why men, who are built to be distinctive from women, flail in modern schools and workplaces designed from the ground up for the feminine experience. Men were meant to be strong, yet we excuse and enable their weakness. In the end, this video didn't do a deep dive into the exact differences between 1950s boys and boys today, but I think it hit on some things that definitely opened my eyes up and are definitely a big part of the reason I am working so hard to become a trans man, transitioning myself from the way I was into who I want to be. If you're the same, join me, won't you? And I've got nothing right now, but some things coming together where I'd like to start to, group us together. Those of us who are trying to work on ourselves, work on our family. It's a tough ride, but it's one I am committed to taking and undergoing in order to make myself and my boys real men. If you like this video, you know what to do, don't you? I think maybe, hopefully, please don't click away yet. The video's almost over. I need a couple things for you and then you can leave. First of all, I need you to share this video with 100,000 people. 130,000 would be even better, but if you could do 100, that's fine. If you would, comment, share, like, thumbs up, everything that, YouTube, everything you could do to tell YouTube, like, hey, I love this video should get out there to more people. I would love it if you can do that. I'm sincerely working hard to grow YouTube. I want to do this full time eventually, but it's a long road that I can't do alone. I really just need you. If you enjoyed this video, to help get it out there as best you can, I would sure appreciate that. And the other thing I need is your money. And the other thing I need is all of your money. I mean, maybe not all of it, but pretty much all of it would be wonderful. In order for me to take this channel to the next level, I slowly need to get to the point to where I'm actually earning money from it, which is difficult. And so if you'd like to support me on this expedition towards making this and other projects I have in connection to this a reality, you can support me on Patreon. If you'd like to do that, Patreon's link is in the little text description below this video. And man, I'd appreciate everything you can do. Also, I'm doing live videos every Tuesday. You can join me live for a campfire chat, I call it, minus the campfire. Usually a cigar or tobacco or bourbon's being consumed. And I just chat for like an hour. In that chat though, if you'd like to, you can give me money that way too through Super Chat. There's so many ways of giving me money. You can just send me money in the mail. I mean, I don't care. Just give me your credit card information and I'll use that very wisely. Don't worry. Just send me the numbers. That's it. Sorry to ask for money. It's just a reality of trying to make this a reality in my life. It's helps me to justify the time it requires to make this happen. So, whatever. Appreciate those of you who have supported on Patreon. I really appreciate you. I think there's 3 or 4 of you, and you're my favorite people by far. All right, that's it. Thanks for watching.